Whoa, hey, hi. Whoa, did I spook ya? Did I get ya? That's the theme of today's video, is being spooked. I'm going to talk about all the books that scare me. All the books on my TBR that scare me. Whoa! Okay, all these books, these 9 books that I've put on my list, they were written here because they are on my TBR. Let me preface, I'm going to read all of these books someday. I just haven't yet because they scare me too much. Okay? Because something about them intimidates me or scares me. And I'm going to talk about that. And the first book is Ulysses by James Joyce. I haven't read James Joyce yet. I'm actually going to read Dubliners soon. It's right over there looking at me on my shelf. I'm going to read Dubliners soon. I picked Dubliners and not Ulysses because why would I choose Ulysses as my first James Joyce read? If you don't know what Ulysses is, let me get the internet. Let me tell you what Penguin Random House says Ulysses is about. First of all, do you want to guess how many pages it is? Well, in this Penguin edition, it's 1,144. Okay, and it takes place, you guessed it, in one single day. What? Something about that, that's amazing. Who would have thunk? That's amazing. But also crazy. Because what are you saying in this for it to be 1,000 pages and only be describing the events of a singular day? It scares me how long I'm going to be reading this. And is it one of the books where my patience runs thin? I don't know. I have to read it to find out, but I'm too scared to do it at the current moment. Let me tell you what this book is about, according to Penguin Random House. The most famous day in literature is June 16th, 1904, when a certain Mr. Leopold Bloom of Dublin eats a kidney for breakfast, attends a funeral, admires a girl on the beach, contemplates his wife's imminent adultery, and, late at night, befriends a drunken young poet in the city's red light district. Great. I want to read this because there's all these things happening that I'm like, okay, but it happens for 1,000 pages and it's supposed to mimic the Odyssey. And yeah, I heard somewhere, I couldn't find the quote again, that Virginia Woolf, grain of salt, we're taking Virginia Woolf's opinions with a grain of salt. Okay, we all know why. It's the racism. We all know why. But still, she did say that it was pretentious. Okay, I read the first paragraph of Dubliners, and even in that, it kind of started getting to, okay, we know you're smart. We know you're smart, Joyce. I already know that. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. This book scares me just because of its sheer length and the fact that I have no idea what to expect. Ta-da! Next book, and that is Gender Trouble by Judith Butler. This is the only nonfiction book on this list. Yes, that is correct. If you don't know who Judith Butler is a philosopher and a post-structuralist gender theorist. I've known who Butler is for a few years now, and I took a class on gender for sociology, and I understand their concepts with gender specifically. This is the book that the concept of, and the idea that gender is performative, that's where this comes from. If you've ever heard that gender is performative, this is where that's coming from. This book, right here. This one right here, right now. And I've read a pinch of this book. I think just the part that introduces gender as something that is performative. but I haven't read the whole thing. It's only over 200 pages, so it's not that much, but I know it'll take me a while because Butler is so incredibly smart, and you know that when you're reading it. I feel like for some people, they get offended, one, because you read it and you go, wow, I'm not as smart as I thought I was, and two, because you also can't easily comprehend Butler's concepts, and that's only because it talks about things that we are so socially programmed to just believe as irrefutable fact that it's hard for a lot of people to challenge that and look outside of it. And that's why this book in Butler has gotten a lot of flack, is because a lot of people just don't like it. And I think that it has to do with gender, and therefore it has to do with identity, and therefore people feel personally attacked when anything about their identity is being questioned. And that, my friend, I think is part of the root of transphobia. But anyway, I really want to read this, and I've already read some of it, but what intimidates me about it is just how dense it is, and just how smart Butler is, and like me being reminded that my reading comprehension is still mid. Yeah, next. Back to fiction. I forgot exactly how I found this book. I think it was online. It was definitely online. I've never seen this in person. I had never seen this at a bookstore, anybody talk about it. I've never seen this on someone's shelf. I've never seen someone I haven't been introduced to this book until I think it might have been Goodreads. I think it might have been Goodreads that I found this book and read about it because I was trying to find books that someone else would like to recommend to try out. And I found this one and I go, I want to read that. And that book is Musashi by Eiji Yoshikawa. If you don't know, Miyamoto Musashi was a real person. He was a samurai. He was one of the most well-known samurai. And this story, 900 pages, by the way, 900 pages, that's also intimidating. Whoa, that's a lot. And this book talks about, in a fictional way, of Miyamoto Musashi's life. And that's really interesting, and it sounds really cool, and I think there's symbolism with, like, seasons. I just spilt chai on the floor. Towel. We'll deal with that later. Okay, I'm back. Everything's fine. I don't know where I was, but I'm gonna keep talking. This is what Penguin Random House Online gives the description. Miyamoto Musashi was the child of an era when Japan was emerging from decades of civil strife. Lured to the great battle of Sekigahara in 1600 by the hope of becoming a samurai, without really knowing what it meant. He regains consciousness after the battle to find himself lying defeated, dazed and wounded among thousands of dead and dying. On his way home, he commits a rash act, becomes a fugitive, and brings life in his own village to a standstill until he is captured by a weaponless Zen monk. And then it says a bunch of other stuff, but I'm not going to read all of it. That's just the first part of the description. In my head, I think I have this book on such a high pedestal that I'm scared when I start reading it because I haven't heard of it before, which could also very much probably is due to where I live regionally in the world. You know, it's common for Western places to not talk about things that are not Western. What is Western? But anyway. Excuse me. So I'm just scared that when I do read it, because I have these high expectations, that it's going to be mid. I don't think it will be, but I'm scared of that happening. I think I have to bring it down a little bit. I have to bring it off the pedestal in order to read it. And be ready to read 970 to 84 pages. Almost 1,000 pages. Fair. It's fair to be scared of that. Next. This book I actually have. And I've had since high school, and I haven't read it yet. I've made it to page, the second time that I picked it up, I made it to page 33. Maybe next time I'll make it to page 34. Who knows? But this book, I think you've already seen it, is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This on the back says that it's one of the greatest mystery thrillers ever written. Continues to say that Wilkie Collins's The Woman in White was a phenomenal bestseller in the 1860s, achieving even greater success than works by Dickens. The story begins with an eerie midnight encounter between artist Walter Hartright and a ghostly woman dressed in all white who seems desperate to share a dark secret. The next day, Hartright, engaged as a drawing master to the beautiful Laura Fairley and her half-sister, tells his pupils about the strange events of the previous evening. Determined to learn all they can about the mysterious woman in white, the three soon find themselves drawn into a chilling vortex of crime, poison, kidnapping, and international intrigue. That sounds crazy. I think the main reason why I haven't read it yet is because it's that every time I grip it, I'm reminded of how much space it takes up in the world. And also, I think along the same lines of Musashi, I have this in my head of I've already determined what this book is about. And that's not good to do. I've been daydreaming about it, and I have expectations, and I shouldn't hold expectations, because no matter if the book is better than them or worse than them, I'm going to be disappointed either way. And so I'm waiting until those expectations go away, and then I can unpack it. Yeah. That's The Woman in White. It's waiting for me, and it's waiting for you too. Next, I also have this book. This book has to do, the reason why I haven't gotten into it yet, because it has a lot to do with the fact that I think in order to fully understand it, I need a lot of background knowledge in Russian history, Soviet history, and all that jazz, and in Russian literature itself. And that is The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry. This story says, one spring afternoon, the devil, trailing fire and chaos in his wake, weaves himself out of the shadows and into Moscow. Mikhail Bulgakov's fantastical, funny, and devastating satire of Soviet life combines two distinct yet interwoven parts. One set in contemporary Moscow, the other set in ancient Jerusalem, each brimming with historical, imaginary, frightful, and wonderful characters. I think that I am just worried about reading this and not having the background information necessary to fully understand it. I might just have to bite the bullet and do it, because I don't know. I don't even know exactly what I need to know about Russian history and Russian literature to read this. And so I think I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and do it, and maybe struggle a little bit, but hopefully still get it nonetheless. That's kind of it for this one. Beautiful cover though. Next book, Sumi, I haven't read it yet, is 1984 by George Orwell. Yeah. I picked it up last year. I haven't read it yet. I've read part of it. A lot of people that I know have read it. And I think I know so much about it that at this point feel like I've already read it. And my main worry is how devastating it'll be. Especially how many connections there are to life that I'm living right now. And if you're in America and you're awake at all, you'd understand. I've heard, again, I have to read it to find out, I've heard what the ending is. And if that is true of what people have told me it is, my disappointment would be that it's not. It has no seed of hope at the end of it, and it's just bleak. And that, I think that will frustrate me. If it is true, it'll frustrate me. And it'll also be unfortunate because I think with how close it'll be hitting to home right now, what I would need is that hope at the end, and I don't think it'll give that. One of the most detrimental things is giving into despair, and I'm scared that that's what will happen when I read this. So, Penguin Random House, this is what it says. Winston Smith toes the party line, rewriting history to satisfy the demands of the Ministry of Truth. With each lie, he writes, Winston grows to hate the party that seeks power for its own sake and persecutes those who dare to commit thought crimes. But as he starts to think for himself, Winston can't escape the fact that Big Brother is always watching. A startling and haunting vision of the world in 1984 is so powerful that it is completely convincing from start to finish. No one can deny the influence of this novel, its hold on the imaginations of multiple generations of readers, or the resiliency of its admonitions, a legacy that seems only to grow with the passage of time. I think something else that also scares me is the reminder of the imminent threat of generative AI. How fast it's growing, and all of these people at the head of it telling us that it's inevitable and that we have no choice. It's not inevitable. We do have a choice. But the destruction that it's bringing, and the connection to this with the thought crimes and the Ministry of Truth, and using people to spread information, to rewrite things, to spread disinformation as well. It's like, it would remind me of the same way people are used as products with generative AI. I mean, that's what it is. In a capitalist-based economy, if there is anything that's free, you have to question what the product is. And most of the time, the product is you. There is always a product. There is always some economic benefit to things. There has to be. And so that that technological and mental imperialism that is generative AI is something that's so terrifying, and I think I'll just keep being reminded of it in this book, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I like books that talk about this stuff in manners that are really well done, but what irks me and disappoints me is if the ending is just, that's just how it is. And the cycle continues. It's like, we know that, but at least give us hope. At least give us hope so that we can have the courage to do something about it. So that's why I haven't read it yet. Bleak. Sad. Let's move on. Next book. If you were here for my last video, you might be surprised that I'm picking this book up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I read Earthlings last month, talked about it in my last video, and I was disappointed, to say the least. A lot of my qualms, I forgot words. A lot of my discontent came from the fact that I believed the things that were disturbing were just there to be disturbing, and they didn't serve a purpose outside of that. And that is kind of unfortunate. And I don't like it when writers do that. But I want to give Sayaka Murata, the author, another chance. And I'm going to do that with Convenience Store Woman. I've been wanting to read this. I heard about this book before Earthlings, but chose Earthlings as my first read. Maybe that was a mistake. But Convenience Store Woman, I think, is their most popular or most well-known novel. And I have more hope for this book, but I'm also scared because of my experience with Earthlings. Here's what it's about. It's about Keiko Furukura. It's about Keiko. And Keiko Furukura had always been considered a strange child, and her parents always worried how she would get on in the real world. So when she takes a job in a convenience store while at university, they are delighted for her. For her part, in the convenience store, she finds a predictable world mandated by the store manual, which dictates how the workers should act and what they should say, and she copies her coworkers' style of dress and speech patterns so that she can play the part of a normal person. However, 18 years later, at age 36, she's still in the same job, has never had a boyfriend, and has only a few friends. She feels comfortable in her life, but is aware that she is not living up to society's expectations and causing her family to worry about her. When a similarly alienated but cynical and bitter young man comes to work in the store, he will upset Keiko's contented stasis, but will it be for the better? That's what website says. I really do like the concept of alienation. If you don't know, that originally comes from Marx. I'm not going to get into that. But I wouldn't be surprised if there are experiences with Sayaka Murata maybe being neurodivergent, or just being someone who does not seem to be created in a way where they do not fit the norms, and it's been hard for them to conform to that. Not to assume what Murata's experiences in life have been, but it seems to be themes in a lot of her stories, and I really like that. I think that's really interesting. My problem with Earthlings was just the execution of it, and so I'm hoping that that's different here. But I got an ounce of doubt, and I'm a little scared just because of my experience with Earthlings. Natural. That's only natural. So yeah, I'm going to read it, but Earthlings is why I'm a little hesitant about it now. Next book. Oof. Yeah, so I've known about this book for a little bit. One of my favorite genres, if you don't know, my favorite genres are metafiction, absurdism, and magical realism. I really like that stuff. And so naturally I hear of House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewsky. This book is 736 pages, so larger. I'm going to put some pictures around of some examples of the pages within the book. There's parts that I know where you have to like read the book through the mirror in order to read it, because it's backwards. You flip pages upside down. It's like a maze. You're reading it and it's like a maze. And I think the only thing that it intrigues me, and I think it'll be really inspiring and something that kind of opens up my mind a little bit about literature and what it can do. But also at the same time, I think because of that, my critic who judges my writing, we all have one. Every artist has one. Every person has a critic. Mine, while reading this, is going to tell me, oh, this is really creative. I don't know. The book might put me in my place to where I'm like, wow, I haven't even thought of anything as creative as this. Which, I know is not a good way to think. I know that. But I want to make sure that critic has duct tape over its mouth before I open this book. Yeah, it's just the writer in me. That's all that is affecting me. And that goes straight into the next book and our last book. And that is Don't Sue Me. I haven't read it yet, okay? The book is Beloved by Toni Morrison. Don't come at me. I'm sorry. Let me explain myself. This book only scares me because of the same reasons of House of Leaves, is that I know it's such a well-written book. I know Toni Morrison is an amazing writer. I know that. And part of that, because I am an aspiring writer, because I write, because I'm trying to get better, part of that is I know that critic is there. They're sitting right there and they're ready to pounce when I'm reading this. It's gonna, this book I know it's gonna not remind me, but show me what stories can do and what writing can do. And it'll be inspiring, but also I think I'm scared that my critic will be really loud in the back of my head. If you don't know Beloved, I can't sit here and say you have to read it. I mean, you have to read it. I haven't even read it yet. So, it's about a young woman who was born a slave and escaped to Ohio, but 18 years later, she's still not free. Setha has too many memories of Sweet Home, the beautiful farm where so many hideous things happened, and Setha's new home is haunted by the ghost of her baby, who died nameless and whose tombstone is engraved with a single word, Beloved. Like, yeah. And I know it's marked number 2 on the Guardian's top 100 novels. It's number 2. Which, yeah. I mean, I haven't read it and I know that's right. I haven't read it and I know that's correct. I haven't read it and I'm sure it could have even been number 1. But I'm intimidated by it because I know how good it is. And maybe I'm also intimidated by the fact that I know how good it is without even having read it. Kind of crazy. Yeah, that's a great book. It's gonna be a great book, but it's intimidating. I thank you for coming here. This is just a fun little video. Me talking about my fears and hopes and aspirations and dreams and nightmares in books. So yeah, if you would like to, you can follow me on Pagebound, where you can see the books that I'm reading, all the books that I'm gonna read, all the books that I have read. We can even talk on there. I mean, I got 14 subscribers. Oh yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, thank you for listening to me ramble, talking about life and books, and I hope to catch you in another video in the future, whatever it happens to be. Bye-bye.